Hello, welcome to another Alpha Strike We Play video. We're continuing our series on Aerospace for BattleTech. Oh dear.
Dead set. Professionals. Seriously.
Come on, swoosh us in.
I'm the best.
I got you out of the trailer, come on.
This is going to be Space Combat Part 1.
Yeah. How many parts? We don't know. We're just going to talk through it and see how we go with it.
That'll get us a subscriber.
Everything on my page. Okay.
It's all dad jokes.
All right, Tarron.
So Aerospace, we're winging
I've got
it.
Get it? All right. So there were some things we mentioned when we were doing movement.
Yes.
Specifically, scale.
Scale is important in this. There's going to be a lot of weird stuff. I think the main scale difference for this one is the damage. You've got capital scale and you've got standard scale.
Standard, yeah.
Capital scale is basically 10 times standard scale. When you hit capital scale armor with standard weapons, you're doing 1/10 of the damage. When you hit standard armor with capital scale weapons, you're doing 10 times the damage.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's that.
So all your big warships and things like that, they are a capital scale. They're huge. They have monstrous levels of armor. Their weapons are huge, and a lot of the weapons that they have are what they call capital scale. Right? So they do that higher level damage. So it'll have a number on it saying like 50 or 60 or something.
Yeah.
That is basically 600 points of BattleTech damage,
which is
by 10.
Insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
I mean, they've done that obviously, so you're not colouring in like 50,000 dots and, you know.
Yeah, well, if you had this, if you've got your Overlord there, you've got 220 points of standard armor. You've got 22 points of capital scale armor.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
On the nose alone. So yeah, it's a lot of work to just try and figure that out. So scaling it like up and down is a bit of extra mucking around, but it's worth it to not have to deal with like thousands and thousands and thousands of little dots.
So if you have a whole bunch of, say, PPCs, say you've got 10 PPCs.
In the front.
Yeah, say in an area. They'll have a location like a field of fire and things like that. So you put them all together. They actually push them all together fire them as one weapon. They add up the heat, they add up the damage.
And it becomes a bay.
A bay, all right?
And when you're building them, you have to remember to put them into bays. And it's a bit weird.
Yeah. But they generally have a lot of like additional heat sinks to take into account firing like bays of weapons, you know. So even if you've got something that's a long way away, that some of the weapons in the bay, so you've got lasers of different ranges, they're all in one bay because they're a laser, things like that. So.
And then it'll average out damage, it'll average out like distances and all that sort of stuff. I think it's only large craft. Yeah, so there's a little list of points there on page 235.
Let's talk about those actually, those points. Yeah. Let's just go through those.
I think they're fairly important. So from the top, you've got aerospace units have an extreme range bracket.
Yeah.
So these are just differences between the main differences that you're going to face between ground combat and air combat. So all aerospace units have an extreme range. Not all aerospace weapons have the ability to fire at extreme range, but they're all there. Weapon damage values are fixed. So if you have a look at the Cheetah or the... actually, the Shiloh's probably a better one, I guess. So you've got, in the weapons and equipment inventory section there, you've got the heat for, say, the LRM-20, location, heat, and then you've got SRV, and above that you've got 1 to 6. So that is 1 to 6 is your short range, and that SRV is short range damage value, or attack value.
Attack value.
Attack value they call it in aerospace. And that is the amount of damage that it will do. And the LRM specifically will use an average roll. Like anything clustery uses basically an average roll.
Yeah.
It's a bit weird, but we'll go into that later. But you can see there that it's got the same damage value across the range. And those are the range brackets that are on top. And those are standard scale weapons, not capital scale weapons.
No, that's right, yeah.
All right, and you can see there that the large laser has a short range value and a medium range value, and then everything else only has a short range value. So you can only fire out to 6 hexes with basically all 3 of the others.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So the weapon range brackets are standardized and apply to all weapons equally, which is basically their damage values are fixed and the range brackets are standardized. Angle of attack from attacker to target may inflict a 2-hit modifier. So this is the point where shooting things from the side actually gives you a hitting modifier, not just a location modifier.
Yeah.
Okay, so in ground combat, when you're behind someone, you don't get any sort of advantage. It's just that their armor is thinner usually.
But modifiers aren't really based on speed. Although a faster craft is more likely to be able to get into the better positions to get a bonus to shoot.
Yeah.
But being faster doesn't make you harder to hit per se. You know, like your ground units or whatever. If they go like a locust can move a lot faster, a lot further.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think the movement ones still apply, or do they not?
They don't. They don't because
Okay.
they don't have a. Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's a little bit different.
Yeah. Okay.
So having a faster fighter is good because you're more likely to get into a position where you want to give yourself the best target numbers. Which would be behind, of course.
Which is usually
on their
behind.
6, yeah.
Which
I don't think does a modifier. If you're shooting head on, I think it's a +1 or something. And then
yeah. So your angle of attack gives you either a 0 for being behind them,
Yep.
a +1 for being right in front of them. So you're attacking against the nose, a +2 against a side, because it's a lot harder to hit something going really fast across.
Yeah.
And then if they're at 0 velocity, you get a -2.
God, there you go. There's probably a lot of other stuff. We'll get to that. But
Yeah.
we need to. How do you actually shoot at somebody?
Yeah.
Let's figure that out.
Well, so large craft group into bays. Damage to warriors creates a 2-hit modifier as well. That's worth mentioning. So as your guy takes damage, it's gonna be harder and harder for him to hit things, or crew, whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever you've got.
Any successful 2-hit roll that's a natural 12 has a chance for criticals, which is insane. Cool.
It's nasty.
That's the 2-hit roll, not the location roll.
Yeah,
So,
yep. I rolled a 12.
Yeah.
Done.
And then your damage values for control rolls, so your 20 damage, etc., it's cumulative. So 20, 40, 60, etc., you get a +1 for each one. And it just keeps going up. So if you can do like huge damage, then you've got a huge modifier for them on their control roll.
Yeah.
Now, I think there's an optional rule out there somewhere that puts that on the ground guys as well. And I know there's a lot of guys out there that use that as a ground combat standard rule. But in this, it is standard. So extra damage means extra modifiers. Cool.
Imagine if they said, yes, we've designed a mech that does so much damage every round that we need to clarify the damage by 20. Can we actually do more damage and affect them more?
I'm sure I could figure out a super heavy that could do that.
Oh, probably, yeah.
I mean,
we use clan tech and just
Komodo does 50 points.
Yeah.
You only have to squeeze another half dozen medium lasers on there and you'd be able to do 60 or 70. And that'll put it up +2, +3. That's cool. I'd do it.
Imagine doing like a direwolf version of that, mate. Oh my God.
We're just covered in medium lasers and hook it up to a coolant truck. And
4 anti-missile systems.
Dear, oh dear.
Anyway, we're getting distracted. We do that.
Space combat. So the ranges are set there. You can see the table on page 235. So standard and capital weapons have different range brackets. Okay, so you can see there short is 0 to 6 for standard and 0 to 12 for capital, etc.
Yeah.
Your short is a 0, +0. Medium is a +2. Long is a +4. And extreme is a +6. And they're standard across the board for aerospace combat. Okay?
God, imagine that though. So if you've got a really, really good sort of gunnery crew on your capital weapon capable ship, and you're shooting at those ranges because there's no cover like we were talking about.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a bit weird because according to this, LRM should be able to fire into extreme because they're 21, right? So I think there might be some jiggery-pokery that they've done there to do that, because on the sheet here for the Shylone, the LRM 20 shows up as only with a long-range value rather than an extreme-range value. So that's something I have to look into and try and figure out. But for now, just go with the table that's there just in case. They might have changed it from this version of Total War to something else.
Oh, yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
So,
but anyway, yeah.
Or Megamech might be wrong. You never know. The important thing here is line of sight. Line of sight in space, units don't block, nothing blocks. The only thing that blocks line of sight in space is a screen launcher.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty sure we mentioned before, but
yeah,
it's worth repeating it. So the screen launchers that you can get on as weapons and equipment on your dudes are the only thing that will block line of sight. So while you're in space, you're going to get shot at, or you are going to be shooting at.
Yeah.
Unless you have a screen launcher. Firing arcs for units are weird. It depends on whether they're in atmosphere, on the ground, whether they're spheroid or aerodine.
Yeah. Even in space, an aerodine has like a different, different setup too.
The spheroid one is on page 235. We can bing that up. Bing. So you can see their nose, aft, fore right, fore left, aft right, aft left, and then the combos of each in the corners there.
And when we talk about the movement and things like that in atmosphere, your spheroids, they're not really built for that. But this is where they shine.
In space, they have
really
the best firing arcs you can get.
Yeah, you've got more arcs to choose from, so you can do a lot more damage. Some of them overlap. So you've got the nose and, say, fore right crossover, so they can all help one another. That's really good. And they generally have more armor.
Yeah. And there's usually, with the bigger ones, they've got loads and loads and loads of weaponry on each firing arc that's there.
Yeah. They can usually shoot at somebody with something.
They'll find a way to do something to someone. Even if they've taken like enough damage to knock out weapons on one side, they can always just roll.
They just roll
over to the thing. So they are the best equipped for space combat, spheroid dropships and small craft. As long as they've got the weaponry, of course. If you build one with no weaponry, then it's not doing anything. But those firing arcs are lovely.
I'm sure it has a nice casino or something, like the Titanic.
Pleasure dropships. Gotta love that.
Why is it at 4 funnels?
The Aerodine, and this is Aerodine as in Aerodine dropships or Aerodines small craft or aerospace fighters. It's on 236, and you can see there the wings and the nose cross over at the front, and then the aft and the wings aft cross over at the back. And you don't see many weapons equipped like wing aft, like left wing aft, I don't think. I haven't really looked at many record sheets, so, I mean, I could be wrong. There might be loads of them with rear-facing weapons on the wings, but you see most of the weaponry, I think, on the aft. But that doesn't matter. It covers the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right? So you'll see there the big gaps on the side, but it'll come out one and then just move out like a V shape.
Look, that's a lot of hexes where you can move. If you're a faster unit, that you can move into their arc that they've got no fire capability, and you can just pepper away at them.
So if you're in the Shylone and you're facing a cheater who is faster and a lot more maneuverable, you need to be very careful about how close you get and where you let that get.
Yeah.
Because if it gets into any of those hexes in that arc, it can shoot at you, but you can't shoot at it. And it is really a maneuvering thing.
But yeah, big difference. So in space, I would probably put my money on the spheroid ones.
Spheroids are probably better,
I don't know, they just offer a bit more. But Yeah, once atmosphere comes into play, it's hard. Because then I'd want a dropship that can handle the atmosphere really well, and support.
It's a thing. I mean, once you drop onto the ground, I think all of this aft stuff drops. You can't fire any of the aft stuff once you're on the ground.
No.
If you're in atmosphere, because you're using the jets to hover rather than just manoeuvring around.
Yeah.
So I think that drops off, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, that's all right.
So we went through angle of attack. That's giving you a modifier to what's happening. So if your guy is in there and he's getting attacked from the side, then it's actually harder to hit them from here, right? Because of that against the side. That would count as a side, right?
Mm. They actually
have
they have a attack direction thing.
On
if you go
page 238.
238, yeah. Fighters and dropships are there. Marked out, yeah.
So in coming into either of those two hexes on that side there counts as hitting them from the side. And if you're doing that, then you get a +2 to make the shot. So you're not getting shot back at, but it's harder for you to hit them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a table that's got all of this on it, isn't it?
Yeah, we can bring that up while we do the next bit.
237, we want the Aerospace Attack Modifiers table section. Thank you, Tarron. Thank you, Pillar.
Thank you, editing team.
So yeah. Oh, there you go. So there it is. So all your different ranges have your modifiers. The angle of attack, which we talked about. If you're not moving, it's never a good idea because,
Don't stop moving.
No,
in this, even more than anything else, speed is life.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So the capital scale weapons, if they're attacking lighter units, so smaller units, they do struggle to hit them. So you've got a +5 on them because they just can't target them. They're not designed for it.
Now, that only counts for the lasers and the autocannons. It doesn't count for missiles, which have their own targeting system.
That's right. Yeah. But it's still good to know if you can take advantage of that. It's good because
now it's got their firing into or out of a screen hex is a +2. Now I would have assumed that you can't fire into a screen hex if it blocks line of sight, but I don't know for sure. I guess if the person is sitting in
if they're occupying it. Yeah.
So if you've dropped one between you, then it blocks line of sight, but I don't know how long they last.
But they don't block your movement, so you can go into them. Yeah.
And then there's evasive, which gives you weird stuff.
You can either, if you drop ships, you can shoot, but you've got a penalty. But it gives you a bonus and stuff like that if they're being shot at.
I think we went through that.
We did
when we did evading. So that table was out there at one point. Something else to consider is when you're in the same hex. Now these are 18-kilometer wide hexes.
Yeah.
In space combat.
Space combat stuff. Yeah.
Space combat. So if 2 units in the same hex, which you can do, wish to attack one another, players should first determine what unit types are attacking. Treat the unit with a higher initiative as one hex back along its direction of travel, which means you'll get that aft bonus, or the +0.
If you're, if you're in the right position.
You're considered to be one hex back.
Yeah.
Right? In the movement subphase rule, which we went into, it was drop ships, then small craft, then aerospace fighters.
Then, okay. Small craft, or whatever they call it, yeah.
So fighters are considered to have a higher initiative than small craft, which have a higher initiative than drop ships.
Okay.
Right? So the 2 units in the same hex are identical. Then you treat the unit with the higher current velocity as one hex back. And if the 2 units of the same type also have the same velocity, you roll 2d6 and treat the unit with the higher result as one hex back. And you re-roll any time.
And you would use your piloting in that. I thought
it's just a straight roll.
I thought you would.
I would have thought you would, but it doesn't say that. It just says a 2d6. It doesn't say control roll. So just a straight 2d6. So you've got fighters, then small craft, then drop ships. The one with the higher initiative goes back. So if you're a drop ship attacking a fighter, then the fighter will drop back by 1.
Yeah.
Right? So you'll have to shoot aft and it'll be shooting forward. Right? If you're the same type of unit, then whoever's got the higher velocity is one back. So you've got 2 cheaters. One's got a velocity of 12 and the other one's got a velocity of 6. One with the 12 goes back 1. Weird, but true. And then if they're the same, if they're both there at a 12, then you just roll 2d6, and the one with the highest roll.
You know, it's funny. It's sounding like it really is a numbers game for Aerospace.
Yeah.
If you outnumber your opponent, you've got a lot more options, even if you lose initiative.
I mean, the same could be said of ground combat.
Well, that's true.
I think it really does show here.
But it's just getting getting that position.
Yeah.
Getting that position to line up to shoot.
And it's also being able to do that because, I mean, the smaller fighters, they don't have much damage to put out. Like those medium lasers, they only have a short range value and they only do 5 points. But you've got the maneuverability to actually get into the position that you need to do. You need the piloting skill to be able to make the control rolls that you need to get into those positions, right? So it really is a numbers game in more than one sense. Having lots of dogfighters versus one big thing, like one big lumbering fighter, could actually work very, very well in this, especially if you have good, solid piloting skills.
Yeah. If you could guarantee that you're attacking sort of the same position each and every time you come around, you just wear through it. But
yeah,
I don't know.
So when you go to the high altitude table map thing, you get effects of atmosphere. So atmospheric distortion, clouds and winds dramatically reduce the ranges of weapons carried by fighters and dropships. Each atmosphere and ground hex on a space map counts as 6 hexes for range purposes.
Oh, okay.
So that automatically takes you, if you're 1 hex away, it automatically takes you to short range. And then even 1 more hex will take you out into medium range and cut off quite a lot of standard weapons.
Yeah.
Which is weird. But there's only those few rows of atmosphere and ground.
Pretty much.
Hexes. So
yeah, that's right. It's like 5 or something.
4 or 5, yeah. If the conversion results in a shot passing through one attack range and into the next, you use a longer range. Space atmosphere interface also reduces the effective ranges of weapons and counts as 3 hexes for purposes of determining range. Standard scale weapons can fire into or out of, but not through the interface.
Okay.
So if you remember that high altitude map, we'll bing it up just in case. It was gravity, space, range, like 10 down, I'm pretty sure it was. And then there was one line saying space, atmosphere, interface.
There you go.
You are not allowed to shoot through that hex with standard scale weapons. If you're in that hex, you can fire into or out of, like up or down, but you are not allowed to fire through
the actual interface.
Yeah. Unit must occupy an interface hex in order to fire at units in space and in the atmosphere. Range modifications are in addition to the 2-hit penalty for firing through atmospheric hexes, as shown on the attack modifiers table, which is hopefully still up there. Firing through an atmospheric hex plus 2 per hex. So not only do they count as 6 hexes for range purposes, they also give you plus 2 per hex for your shot.
Yeah. So
which is insane.
So it's going to be very hard to, especially even to attack a immobile ground target to a degree. Not immobile, but something that's,
Well, that you'd have to have extreme range weapons or capital scale weapons or something with a long range to be able to attack from atmosphere to ground.
Yeah. I'm sure those naval PPCs we were talking about before,
they probably could,
They do a good job.
I'm pretty sure you're violating the Ares Command.
Probably.
Capital scale weapons can pass through space atmosphere interface hexes, but the range modifiers still apply.
Yeah.
So you can shoot in to the atmospheric hexes. If there's, say, fighters that are going down to do something there and you've got defensive units up here, they can't go through the atmospheric interface, but they can shoot through it. They've just got the range modifiers and the attack modifiers.
You can get weapons that shoot from planets into space, into the atmosphere.
Yes,
yeah,
they are there. I found a really cool mobile fortress, actually. I was looking at mobile fortresses again, and there's one that's like a Comstar thing that has like capital scale weapons.
Nice.
There's like 9 or 10 hex wide thing on these big trundly things, and it's got a turret or 2 turrets with naval, like capital scale weaponry on it.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. And they used to keep them in bunkers and just roll them out and shoot the enemy and then roll them back in so they couldn't be attacked. Which is cool.
That's why you should pay your pal bill and stuff. Your phone bill.
Yeah, well, they were basically Comstar stuff, yeah. So don't skimp on your phone bills. Some important things to note. Cluster weapons. I already mentioned this, but cluster weapons use the average value.
Yeah.
So you can see there the LRM-20 on the Shy alone gives you a 12 for its attack value. It always gives you the average, right? For the missile weapon specifically. There are some that give you other stuff. I think LBX and other things do it slightly differently, but basically you're getting an average value for cluster weaponry. You are still splitting it into 5-point groups. So if you hit with that LRM, it'll do 2 5-point groups and a 2. Okay? So you know. Your attack direction, we've already done that. And then your hit locations. So
Aerospace, was it? Aerospace units hit location table, 237.
237.
That's the one we want. Yep. So
Bing
put that
that
one
up.
up. Yep.
You've got fighters and you've got dropships and small craft.
Yeah.
And it's just when you're shooting at that. Yeah, so if you shoot at the aft, you get those specific locations.
So you've got your nose, you've got aft, you've got side, and you've got above and below. So if you're doing your ground combat runs and some like a mech shooting back at you, things like that, you'd use that table.
It'll hit you.
Yeah. So the angle of attack represents an above or below.
And I think that comes into play when you're at different altitudes as well.
Correct. Yeah.
Base unit takes a hit from a weapon or bay, roll 2d6 and consult the appropriate section. Use the appropriate column on the attack area. Each entry on the table has 2 parts. The first indicates the armor facing from which damage is subtracted. The second is used for determining critical hits, which we'll go into as a separate thing. We'll do that in a minute. But just know that second one, the one on the other side of the slash, is for critical hits.
Yep.
Oh, above and below. So when determining the side or wing affected by an above or below shot, you roll a 1d6 on a 1 to 3. It's the right side. On a 4 to 6, it's the left, just in case you're shooting from below or above. Cluster weapons are still divided into 5-point groupings, but ultra autocannons divide their published attack value in half and apply each half as one of 2 separate clusters. So an ultra Act 20 would do 10 published attack value in half and apply each. They do 2 10s. Or whatever the attack value is. I'm not sure what an ultra autocannon has as its attack value. We could probably find that out.
For aerospace, you mean?
Yeah. Actually, I only just noticed this was a thing the other week, tell you the honest truth.
Yeah.
So the Ultra Act 20, we can look on page 303 there, the Ionosphere weapons and equipment table. At the end, you've got 3 columns there that show you attack value, aerospace range, and 2 hit modifier.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
So the published attack value for an Ultra Act 20 is 30. So you would split that into 2 15-point groups and apply them to separate locations.
That's right. They were saying that you can't not choose to double fire if you have ultra versions. That was a thing.
For aerospace, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. I don't know if it actually still locks up for aerospace.
I don't think so. We'll have a look into that.
Yeah,
we'll let you know. But,
imagine doing that. Imagine if there wasn't a risk of locking up, and everyone would be taking Ultra AC20.
I'd be doing it.
Just 30, bang.
It's worth repeating the scale thing. So when you are resolving damage based on your attack value, your capital scale weapons inflict 10 boxes of damage for every point of their attack value against standard scale armor. Right? The standard scale weapons against capital scale armor are totaled, then divided by 10 and rounded normally for each location once all 2 hit rolls have been made. Okay, so you take all the weapons on the unit, you roll to hit, You roll locations for all of them. You total up the damage in each location for all the weapons that you've hit. You divide it by 10. You round up to 0.5. And that's the amount of damage that it does to capital scale weaponry. So it's not much, but it's worth knowing that a medium laser, a single medium laser, will still do 1 point of damage to capital scale armor because you round that 0.5 up. So you'll always do 1 point of damage. The trouble comes if you hit with two of them in the same location, you're still only doing 1 point of damage.
Yeah.
But there you go, such is life. When all the armor in a location is destroyed, you subtract half the excess damage rounded down from the unit's SI. Okay? For example, a large laser attack value 8 strikes the wing of a fighter, only 3 boxes remain. So 2 points, half the remaining 5 points of damage rounded down are subtracted from the fighter's SI. If that fighter was a Shylone here, then it's losing 2 points. 2 points from only 6 SI. So this is a big deal, okay? It's a huge deal. Capital scale weapons inflict 10 times as much damage against a unit's structural integrity. So that same 2 points that travels through for that large laser, if it was some sort of capital scale laser that was doing 2 points, it would actually inflict 20 points and wipe that Shylone out. It would wipe the cheater out as well. It's gone. So hitting structural integrity with a capital scale weapon is a surefire way to vaporize fighters.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, for sure.
All right. I think that's probably enough for space combat for now. We've got critical hits. There's a few bits and pieces to go into on critical hits, so we might do that as a separate thing.
I think so.
I think we should. I've been
damage
long enough.
That. So you just got to remember that depending on what sort, so just as a bit of a review, depending on what type of craft you have will dictate what sort of firing arcs and how it has, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's different ranges based on the different weapons.
Yep.
Okay, they have an extended range as well.
Yep.
We're going to recommend that you have a very, very good pilot because taking damage, lots of 20s and things like that is going to cause you problems. It's going to cause you problems, so consider that. Yeah. So angle of attack, all that sort of thing. There's lots of things, but that's pretty good. I sort of like how it's going with it. I like the movement side of things from Aerospace.
I'm going to point out before we finish this one off that if you have watched these Aerospace video, I can understand why people don't use Aerospace. It is pretty dense. If there is a section or a video that we've done and you're not sure, chuck a comment down.
Yeah.
Like if somebody else puts a comment down saying, I'm not sure about this, and you're the same, like that thing or put another comment under it or whatever. If there's something that's weird or that you're not sure of, give us a yell so that we can go back and like try and rework how we're doing it. Okay? Because I'm worried we're messing people.
Well, you want to get it right, you know.
I want to get it right.
You want to be able to make sure we're teaching people.
Yeah, it is really dense stuff. So just keep that in mind, okay? But we'll finish that off there, I guess.
I think so. Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time and hope you got something out of it. And we'll hope you join us for the next video.
Yes. Okay.
See you later.
Bye, guys.